Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope your brilliant minds are soaking up all of this juicy information. Up next, we have the amazing Yvette Adams on hiring and onboarding in a pandemic and what we've learnt. Yvette Adams is an authority on social media and a multi-award winning business leader in the ICT sector with a strong media profile. An experienced board member and chair, she regularly consults government and private sector boards on female leadership and board diversity on gender, cultural background, age and ability. Yvette speaks to audiences in the public and private sector on topics that range from social media, including managing complaints and crisis, through to her career as a female in the male-dominated world of ICT and how to be an effective chair board member. She has won multiple awards, including ICT Woman of the Year at the iAwards in 2013 and the Commonwealth Bank Business Owner category at the Telstra Business Women's in Queensland in 2010. She's passionate about youth, education and technology and encouraging women to start their career in tech despite the hurdles of the pandemic. Everyone, please welcome Yvette Adams.
Hey everyone, it's so nice to be here. I do wish I could be there at live, don't we all, right? But anything is good, and it's just nice to have an event like this. How wonderful, and good on you for all signing up and joining in and learning and about being part of this great industry or participating more in it. I was asked to speak about myself for a little bit. I understand I have 20 minutes, and then a topic of interest. And I guess what's been going on in my world, I caught the end of the presentation prior to me, sounded like their industry and their company's booming. We've been having the same. So we've been hiring and onboarding. So whether you are in a role where you are hiring, maybe you're an owner, maybe you're in the HR, or maybe you're looking to make your next move, I hope this presentation is useful to you. So I got a pretty thorough intro, but right now what I'm doing is running 3 companies. So they're all somewhat in the tech space in one way or another, hence I guess why I was invited to speak. They are the Creative Collective. So we're a full service creative agency and we specialize in digital marketing. That business has been going 14 years, and I'll tell you a bit about how it all got started in a moment. We've also got the Training Collective. We specialize in helping people digitally upskill, and we've had the privilege of upskilling whole regions under council and state and federal programs. Most recently, we worked with Knox Council in Victoria to help a lot of Victorian businesses who've been through lockdown to get the skills they needed to do more online. And Awards Hub, we help you find business awards to enter. We designed an online portal, so any of you can go to that if you want to find business awards to build your career in the tech industry, build your company, build your brand, build your product. There's lots of fantastic business awards out there, and some very much so in the space. So that's what I do. If you're sitting there going, is that an accent? What accent is that? I get that a little bit because I have lived in 3 countries. I'm from New Zealand, which is the strongest accent, I still believe, even though I left there quite a while ago now. So I left Wellington, New Zealand was my home one. And I took off to see the world, went to London, and I used London as a base for the next 7 years of my life, as all I did was travel. And now I look back at that time and go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did it. But the problem with doing that is it makes you want to do more. And also most of my networks, a lot of my friends, they live around the world. So we've all had a different experience through this pandemic, but it's killing me not being able to travel and see my friends and family. And I had a big European trip planned last year. That went, and several others, but I'm sure if we all compared notes, we'd all have a similar story. I came back to Australia rather than New Zealand because my family were here. I had my son in the UK, and I wanted to be near family, so that ended up being Australia. And ever since, I'm a citizen now. But to talk you through my journey and I guess how I ended up in this space, it might be useful to you. My first business, I started off when I was 17, and it was a newspaper. So it wasn't very digital at all back then. It was all bromides and sticking them together and running it through. And after the first publication, an American guy contacted me out of the blue. I don't even know how he tracked me down. Back in 1994, and he said, "You've stolen my idea." And he was super annoyed with me because he'd been planning to put out a secondary school sports newspaper. I'd done it first, so he wanted to cut a business deal. So I did that at age 17. It was a really bad business deal, but I learned a lot from it. And I guess I started on this journey of being an entrepreneur. My second business was called Tikanga T-shirts. Tikanga means culture, and Tikanga Aotearoa means fashion in the Maori language, which is the Indigenous language of New Zealand, of course. There were these T-shirts you can see there, and I HTML coded that website in the year 2002, and it certainly looks like it. My biggest barrier to sale back then was PayPal. I had PayPal on there to transact, and people went, "What's that? I'm not giving you my credit card." They were really cagey about it. Fast forward 20 years, and everyone's prepared to do that. So that business I started just with my own funds, and 4 years later, 2006, I sold it for 5 figures. So that gave me, I went from bad business deal, a startup bad business deal, to it gave me a bit more confidence, I guess, that I could start something, create something of value, and move on from there. So my third business was the Creative Collective, and I love talking about my humble beginnings because this was it. This is a little window into the study nook of my Maroochydore home. I live on the Sunshine Coast these days, and it's a wonderful place to live, I must say, especially amongst lockdowns. I can still walk to the beach and get a coffee, and thank God for that. So that was it. I put up the sign, laminated. That looked pretty official. Got some business cards. I'm in business. Got a website. I'm really in business. And she was my first hire, my baby daughter. She was my creative director. She was very creative. She would put crayons all over my stuff. She would empty the files out, and I into the office to discover. And I look back and I think, my God, what was I thinking? I had a 7-week-old and a 3-year-old boy who was a terror, and I've only recently actually had him diagnosed with ADHD. So I look back and go, no wonder he was quite hard work when he was younger. And this is where the Creative Collective began. Fast forward to today, we're a team of 20 people. We have offices in Newcastle and Sunshine Coast. We're growing really fast. In the last 6 months, we have doubled. We've also doubled in our team. So I started off in the study nook, and I ended up entering a business award. So that would be my first tip. Don't ever think, I'm not ready, I can't do this. Throw your hat in the ring. No one needs to give you permission. Sometimes you just got to have a go. And I threw it in the ring because I needed marketing. I had this business, I had no advertising money, and I needed to get the name out there. So I thought, I've done some interesting projects and things, I'll put it in. And I actually won Young Entrepreneur for Queensland in the Small Business Champions Awards. So that was pretty cool. And then I got an email saying, would you like to be on a television show? So that's me on a show that was what Koshi's Business Builders later became. And that also featured on Qantas in-flight TV and on Vodafone's website. And the phone started ringing, things started growing. And that's how I guess this thing got bigger. I found myself at home with people there. This is not my home, but it felt a bit like this. I ended up getting interns to come and help with me. I pulled in the neighbour to do some bookkeeping and filing. And the place was feeling kind of busy. I had people on the kitchen bench. I had them on the outdoor setting. And I said to my then partner at the time, father of my kids, I think we've got to move. This is not big enough for me to operate this business and grow it. So we moved into another house. I moved the business downstairs, lived upstairs until 2011, 10 years ago. I purchased a commercial building, which is what I'm still in now. When I won that first award, it gave me belief to give things a go. And I even threw my hat in the ring for the Telstra Businesswomen's Awards. And never in my wildest dreams did I actually believe that it was possible I could win that. There were 4,000 other applicants, but I did. And that led to all sorts of other cool stuff. Commonwealth Bank were the sponsor that year, and they said, we're taking 10 women to Silicon Valley. Would you like to go? Now, I'm sure all of you in the tech industry know exactly what Silicon Valley is. To me, it's like, wow, would love to go. I had friends, though, saying, what's Silicon Valley? Are you going to get work done? They thought that's what Silicon Valley was. So I had to explain, no, it's a tech hub of the world. I'm going there to learn about technology and the IT industry, etc. So over the course of 10 days, I guess this was a life-changing trip. I had the pleasure of going to the head offices of everything to Eventbrite and all sorts of others. And it really got me going on, wow, this industry is huge. There's so much opportunity. They were really into diversity and welcoming women into it and had initiatives way back then, 2013, on how to do that. And I guess I brought that all back with me. Something else I definitely observed was how much money they were making, how fast they were growing. So the screen on the left there, on the bottom, it's a bit blurry. It says 1.26 million, call it. This is the Eventbrite offices. They had a dynamic screen in the reception, so it's obviously public. And it would zoom to, let's say, Berlin and tick up how much revenue they were making there, and then zoom over to Rio, let's say the Carnival, and show how much revenue they were making there with all the events going through their system. So that was pretty interesting. And then meanwhile, behind the scenes, this is the number of jobs they had going at the time. And you'll notice there are a lot of IT ones, and that they're offering $2.5 to $5 grand if you refer someone within. So way back then, you know, almost 10 years ago, they had massive talent shortages. And I was observing that Apple was stealing from Google, and Google was stealing from LinkedIn, and LinkedIn was stealing from Eventbrite. And that's how they ended up with such crazy elaborate offices with yoga rooms, band rooms, free ice cream, free hairdos. You know, if you've heard these stories, free food, they are true. That is how their offices are, because they have to offer these things to get the staff. So that's pretty crazy. Then my journey, fasting forward further, more things happened. I ended up doing some speaking for Google. More recently, from 2019 to 2021, I was one of 10 trainers for Facebook, which was an amazing opportunity, and all over Australia till COVID hit, and trained tens of thousands of small business owners on the Facebook family of products. I won the I Award. And something I observed there, the I Awards are the biggest IT industry awards. At that point, there was 10% women in the industry. And man, did I notice it. So here I am in Melbourne, and I'm looking around, and I was one of very few females. There were 600 people in the room, so there probably was about 60 females. And then, you know, before I went up, I literally had men coming up to me saying, oh, who are you here supporting? Because I presumed there's no way you'd be up for an award, let alone win one. And afterwards, they were quite sort of miffed as to why I'd won one and wanted to know a lot about it. So these are just some of my honest experiences of what has happened. When you win an award, yes, you can just have a trophy, but I kind of wanted to do something with it. So I got to soul searching. And at the time, my kids were about this old. So they were really getting into technology, and I felt like I had a responsibility to do something with the knowledge I had. So I wrote my second book, which was called No Kidding, what our kids know about technology and what we need to do about it. And I started trying to educate others on technology, and that it's not such a bad thing. So this was 2014, and I was hearing things like, don't let your kids have a phone, don't let them go on social media, it's evil. And I'm sitting there thinking, but I need to hire people who have social media skills. Why are you telling kids not to do that? That's crazy. So the book was not about safety and security. It was really focusing on the positive aspects of technology, and how, as a parent, I feel you have a responsibility to actually coach your kids into this stuff. And actually, as a result, a lot of media came, and I was also quite vocal in talking about kids should learn coding at school. And I'm not the only one who made that happen, but I definitely like to think I had an influence on that. My kids actually hate that now. They say, Mum, why'd you do that? We hate coding at school. And I just always maintain the fact that it's great to learn languages. What about HTML and some of those as well? I think that's pretty cool. So I've just talked about some of the, I guess, the stepping stones of my journey, but I don't want you to sit there and think, oh, it's all rosy, wonderful and perfect. It hasn't been. I'm really into talking about the honest stuff. I think this, which has done the rounds plenty of times, what people think success looks like and what it actually looks like is a great way to explain it. You know, on a personal level, I've been through separation. My mum had throat cancer, or tongue cancer, sorry, I should say. I've had children with a lot of medical issues. There's been a lot to juggle. Sometimes I go, is this really what my load is? This is too much. I can't do it. I'm human. But it's really rewarding as well. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Probably the biggest thing I love about being in this industry is the flexibility. So I was fully cloud very early on. Perhaps that's why I won awards early. Like 2009, everything was online. We had Xero very early around 2009. And we've taught a lot of other people how to make that transition. And as a result of that, I have been able to say I'm not free and go to my kids' sports things, or my daughter now homeschools and I juggle that around work. And I wouldn't be able to do that had I not had a career like this. I also want to talk about life before COVID and how it's affected our business, to be, because because it's been pretty interesting in the last couple of years. So this is us having a lovely time with our team prior to COVID. BC, have you heard about that? Life BC, like not before Christ, before COVID. It's a thing. I think it's good. There was sort of this different life before that line, wasn't there? We used to take the team to lovely places like Byron Bay and do strategy, and that could involve sitting in the pool with a cocktail, or it could involve stuff on the right, which was hugely productive. I'm really glad I did that because it held us in good stead when things got tough the very next year. And none of us had any idea that was coming. So it's November 2019, fast forward to March last year, this COVID thing comes out. And we probably all remember where we were. So we decided to tell our team to work from home about a week before the government did. We felt that was the safe thing to do. And then we did some crisis planning, and thank goodness we did, because by a week later, we'd lost 15% of our revenue, which when you lose it that suddenly is significant, because you're running a budget and a team and a business in a certain way, and now that money's just not there. And where we lost it was all our travel tourism clients ceased, and we couldn't blame them. All our hospitality clients, gym, beauty, anyone affected by the lockdowns, obviously that revenue went. By April, we had lost 20%, and around that same, not much longer, the worst was 40% down. So almost half your business gone. So that hurt. And, you know, we were losing up to 100 grand in 1 month. And I love telling that raw stuff because we had to run a very lean ship for the rest of the year. And there's a nice story at the end of this. But even right through to December, we were losing a lot of money. And obviously you can only do that for so long. So what got us through were knowing ourselves and knowing our values. We decided these in Byron. We decided on kindness and respect and trust. So everything we did, we thought about, will the team trust us if we make this decision? Is this the kind thing to do, asking people to go down to 4 days instead of firing them? Will they respect us for these decisions if we manage to keep the company, etc.? So it was that simple. But, you know, life has been very different since January 2020. Complete opposite, and it blows my mind actually. So in February, March and June and July this year, we've had what we call BMEs, and they are best month ever, and they've gone up and up and up significantly. So 6 months in, doubled our annual revenue, hired 10 people. So it kind of feels like this, hooray, explosions, celebrations. It's doing amazing, but it also feels a bit like this, like my head is just blown, like, whoa, our company's doubled. We've got a general manager now. Our inquiries are up to 170 in 1 month. This is awesome, but it's also fairly overwhelming and growing at that sort of rate. So, you know, I said I'd give you some value on the other side of how do you hire and onboard 10 people inside 6 months? Here's our tips. There are, of the 44 on the shortage list, there's 6 on that list. Sorry, I should explain better. There's a list that the government has of where the skill shortages are. And through COVID, more have been added. So chefs have been added, for instance. There's just not enough around. And of those 44, 6 are in our industry. So if any of you are thinking which way to go with your career, there's the short list. Lots of those needed, and they'll literally, the moment they can get borders open, be bringing people in to fulfill them. And that's certainly been my experience as well. We need web developers, we need programmers, very difficult to find. Then you add in the aging population, regions, having people come in and not having necessarily the skills. Some do though. Some are locked down and can't travel, pressures to pay higher wages, having more work on than you can viably do, and we just can't get people in from outside like we used to. So to figure it all out, we sort of went, what do our employees want? How do we become a really attractive business to get people in this talent shortage? And we had to actually reassess this because life is different now, and what people might have wanted 18 months want now as a human in this world can be quite different. So it's worth reassessing it if you are leading a team. So to figure this out, we did an anonymous employee survey about what was important to them, did a lot of one-on-one. GM came on only about 8 weeks ago. He did a lot of that work. We reactivated our board of advisors. That's a great tip. Have a mentor for your career. We're a board of advisors if you're running a company to help guide you through, and pick people who know stuff that you don't. Like, I'm not a legal expert, so there's a lawyer on there. I'm not an accountant, so there's an accountant on there. I've never, well, I have bought a business and sold some, but mergers and acquisitions, we've got someone on the board that does that. So really, really helpful. We talk to lots in the industry. We don't see people in our industry as a threat or a competition. We see them as someone we can collaborate with and help out. So there's been a lot of that, and had lots and lots of, did some research and had a lot of chats. And what we discovered was the thing they most wanted, it wasn't necessarily more money, it was time in lieu. So that's how we reward people now. And they most valued flexibility, support, and culture. So we went, right, well, if that's what people want, that's what they shall have. So to get the 10 people in 6 months, and this is, I guess, a tip if you're looking for work or if you're trying to find great people for your organization too, we've internally promoted, identified people with talent that we want to invest in, and we have. We've kept hosting interns. As I said, I've had interns at my kitchen table way back when. We still do it. We actually did a tally up today. We've had 10 this year, which I was quite amazed at. I thought that was pretty cool. We use LinkedIn a whole lot. We made a video. I think you can't just put up an ad and go, it's on Seek now. You've actually got to make some cool graphics and something eye-catching. A video would be best. We do a lot of social media outreach. So social media, don't underestimate how powerful it is for recruitment. It's been great for ours. We keep sharing our culture too. We don't just go, here's a job, we'll pay you, it's going to be great. We talk about the work perks, the flexibility, family first, anything we think will make it more attractive to people. They're all legitimate, but that's important too. I think a lot of people miss that. And we've got a dedicated careers page as well, and just become way more open to visa situations. And there are some there. So this is just like a quick, bit of fun music. You can make that in Canva. That's what we made it in. That's it. That's our little recruitment video. And it worked. We got lots of people. So how we've onboarded around lockdowns and just general crazy town, because it's one thing to get them, but then how on earth do you embed someone into your organization and help them understand your culture when you're not face-to-face? Our Newcastle entire team are in lockdown right now and have been for a little while, 3 weeks or something, and there's no end in sight at the moment. So we've just lent on the vision, mission, and values and made sure we shared that. We've done up organisational structures so they know where they fit, even if they can't meet the people. We've made expectations clear. We've got great online systems, but we keep looking to build them out even more. We communicate a lot. We schedule a lot. We do a lot of peer mentoring, so putting them together with someone who can teach them stuff, so it's not all on one in particular person. We've always been pretty online and paperless, but we've gone even more so, and we've done a lot of Loom as a great tool to cut the short videos, and then we share them. I personally learn really well from videos versus a big, written bit, so that's been great. We made an onboarding booklet in Canva, something you could do as well, and just developed lots of templates and procedures. This is our CRM, or customer relationship management system. So we built this out to help us resource. This is our talent pipeline. People drop into here from our website. We review them and move them along. So no one's slipping through the cracks. We want to review and consider everybody. We use Google Calendar in a big way to look at, what are you working on today? Oh, I see you're booked out. Oh, I see you're talking to this client next week. That's great. So there's no micromanaging going on, but it's all very visible. But, don't forget the fun, I would say as well. So we have virtual team drinks and trivia. You can see that Alicia here, I think, answered and then was very pleased with herself. We joked that Penny's had her head cut out, and that was very funny as well. So it's optional. They can join if they want. And John was in some kind of, Asian square. I don't even know how he got that background. Very interesting. Anyway, we also have a Facebook group, and we put silly stuff up there just so you can have those chats like you would if you're around the water cooler, those little jokey moments. So I found this one. If you spell your name backwards and put an amulet over the last vowel, that's your IKEA furniture name. So I turned into Etivi, and Tess was Set, and I said she sounded like a shelf. And, we had a lot of fun calling each other fake plants and shelves and quilts. And it's just, a bit of light relief when you're working really hard and building a team culture. So have we got it all sorted? No, we absolutely do not. We do all these things all the time. We get feedback, we have ideas, we get advice. We're always sort of checking ourselves, but I think we've done pretty well to do this, which is whiria te tangata, which in Māori, the Indigenous language of New Zealand, is weave the people together. And it's a constant thing. It's building. It could be a small basket, then it's a bigger basket, then it's got basket things hanging off it. And that's, to me, what building a culture is, and what we've managed to do through a pandemic, which we're very proud of, but still a work in progress, and we're still actually hiring. So that's it. That's my presentation. I hope you got something out of it, and totally open to questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Yvette Adams, and starting business at 17. I want to start with the first question. What if the 17-year-old Yvette was in front of you right now? What advice would you give? And maybe for our young viewers today as well, what advice would you give them?
I'd probably say, I was pretty cut about that business deal. I'd probably say, don't worry, there'll be another one. And the lesson I learned from it, that if only 17-year-old Yvette could have known, was don't do a business deal unless your values align. I'm so big on these values. Like, that's why it didn't work. Our values didn't align, so the whole thing fell to pieces. So yeah, I think I'll tell you to stick with it, make sure the values align. Don't worry, there's going to be a whole lot of other better stuff around the corners, just to listen along the way.
We've got a good one from Laurel here, Yvette. What are the pros and cons of hosting an intern online? Can you describe a little bit more about how it worked and where you find them?
Yeah, good point. So I've actually been, again, advocating media, government to allow this, because I don't know where they're up to with it, but about 2014 when I wrote the book, that was not allowed. No, you can't take an intern online. And I'd say, why not? If I want to get someone in Timbuktu, quite a while away, but they're a good candidate and we can mentor them online, why not? Why cannot we do this? So I hope those have been reviewed. But if you do, same principles, probably a lot of what I've just gone through, like onboard them, treat them like they are a team member, because they are, have procedures and systems and templates in place. It's your job to set them up for success. So you can't get grumpy if they don't quite do it right. You need to teach them how to do it, give them the Loom video, give them the procedure, check in. Like yesterday, someone did one task of 20. I said, I want to see it after one, so make sure you're on the right track before you do 20. It was wrong, so thank goodness she didn't do the 20. Things like that. So yeah, all of what I've talked about, but apply for interns, I think.
Perfect. I've got one last one for you as well. What advice would you give another mother trying to get their business off the ground while working from home with young children like you did?
Yeah, it's tough, right? I totally sympathize. My advice would be change your schedule around the changing needs of your children. So, when my daughter was quite young, she'd sleep a lot, so that was okay. And if she wanted to get up and have a breastfeed in the middle of the night and I was a bit awake, I might do some work because I could. But then fast forward to when she's moving and crawling and pulling all the files out, I couldn't do a lot of work. So I'd do it at night when she'd gone to bed. And then, so I was a night owl for a good few years while the kids were young. That takes a bit of stamina to actually go, right, there's to bed. I'm absolutely exhausted, but I'm going to open that laptop again and I'm going to go again. But look after your health as well, because you can only do that for so long. Then I went through a separation and I found myself alone, and I changed my whole schedule to getting up early to do it before they got up. So do what works for you at the time. Use your Google Calendar heavily and do book in the things that matter, like time with friends and well-being and everything as well. Work is important, but don't run yourself ragged, and not be a good mum because you've done so. Make sure you book enough time for the other nice things as well.
The burnout that we were talking about earlier. Yes, thank you so much, Yvette. And we look forward to chatting to you in our panel, which is coming up next, Business as Unusual. So make sure you click out back into the timeline and we will see you very soon for our very exciting Business as Unusual panel very soon.